What's going on, folks? Johnny Blaze here. Today we're going to talk about Mario Kart World for a little bit. I just want to start off by saying I'm not IGN. I'm going to do a mini review just before I get to what I actually want to talk about, but I'm not going to go too in-depth and tell you the basics of how like a race works or how you can switch characters, stuff like that. I'm going to assume that you've watched other videos and you've played Mario Kart before. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So overall, the game is pretty good, maybe even really good, great. The one map, creating one map that bridges every single track together is a really like impressive feat, and I think like it makes for a really seamless and fun experience overall. I don't want to understate how cool that feels, how impressive it is that Nintendo was able to pull this off. The Grand Prix game mode feels a lot less disconnected than previous games where you had one track that you do 3 laps in and then you teleport to the next track. Now it's more like one connected sequence of gameplay where you kind of just move through the world, and there is some downside to it. I think there's a lot of these tracks where you're only racing them for 1 lap, and I think a lot of them would, lend themselves better to be raced a couple times because they're such cool tracks. But I think I'm going to focus on the positives here and just say that it's super cool that you can kind of just race around the world like you're playing Midnight Club or some other street racing game that's less kind of in a vacuum, looping around a circle, and more like moving through the world. Besides that, we got, of course, the Knockout Tour game mode where you basically have to not be in the bottom 4 racers every single lap as you kind of traverse 5 or 6 courses in the open world. Essentially, if you are in the bottom 4, you get eliminated, and so obviously you start with 24 and then 20 and then 16 and so on. So I think it's another really cool use of the open world, and I guess I don't have much else to say about it. I like it. I want to mention as well that in all of these game modes, the increased volume of just other racers, random obstacles, things like that, it's way up from previous games, and I think that makes the world and the races just feel so much more interesting. You have to weave between, different cars and traffic, watch out for bullet bills, bombs. Like it's a really fun experience overall to just include that as part of the races. And the tools you get to move through this new open world have increased in a lot of ways. So you have the flying and boat abilities as you previously had, but now there's charge jumping, rail grinding, I guess flips, jumping off things, in addition to, the previous suite of tech. It gives you a lot of cool ways to move around this open world, and there's a lot of different ways to maneuver through courses now, ways that I'm sure we haven't even seen the beginnings of. So I know in the future people are going to figure out different ways to jump between things, fly around, and basically just speed run half of these maps. So we'll see how that ends up looking in the future. Outside of these main racing modes, we have the battle mode, and I'll be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of this. There was the balloon battle and the coin grab mini games, and they felt a little insubstantial, to be honest. You kind of just moved around in a circle looking for coins or randomly looking for items to throw at other people. So I didn't care for it, and I didn't spend too much time in this game mode, but I just wanted to mention it. So there's my mini review of Mario Kart World, and now we can move on to what I actually wanted to talk about. So I spent the majority of my time in this game kind of just driving around in the open world, trying new cars, messing around with the movement mechanics, and looking for new skins for all the characters. And of course I did spend some time with the P-switches and other challenges that the open world had, but a lot of that time was just spent aimlessly driving around while I listened to podcasts or YouTube videos. I would just make a habit of booting up the open world and driving around for 15 minutes while I was doing something else or listening to something else. And that's fine. I don't think it's a problem that there's games like that, and it does fill a space in the what I'm looking for from a game. I used to do this with Just Cause 3. That was one of my games where if I wanted to listen to an audiobook, I would just boot it up and like drive around or whatever. But then early on into my open world meandering, I bumped into one of these random encounters. And then it hit me. Why is this not a game mode? I personally found these little sequences and the similar nabbit chases to be the best part of the open world. Nothing made me zone in more than watching a has-been quarterback and his friends zoom past me. The mix of the tight racing to try to catch up to these guys, as well as angling green shells to try to knock them down, was more exciting than pretty much anything I found in the base game. But when I say this game mode could be revolutionary, I don't mean just a bunch of mini sequences of chasing down charging chucks and hitting them with green shells. I mean, in a broader sense, what if Mario Kart wasn't so much about racing other players as much as it became about chasing them down and hitting them with shells or whatever the case may be? I don't want to sound hyperbolic here, but this could be a revolutionary shift for how Mario Kart functions as a whole. And I think this open world is a perfect sandbox to have gameplay like this. So let me get to the point here. I have a proposal for Nintendo. Make a capture the flag game mode. Just imagine it. Tone back items, maybe just bananas, green shells, mushrooms, maybe a couple of powered up items such as the ice balls or the hammers. Keep some of the more broken weapons as rare super drops or located kind of far away from the main capture the flag area. Keep the teams relatively small, maybe 2 teams of 6 players each. Open up a pretty large section of the map and keep each team's flag on either side. Enough room for just natural dynamic chases like what I've shown earlier with the charging chuck races to just happen within gameplay. Now you're using all of the little paths, offshoots, and tech to maneuver around the open world, except this time you have a reason. You're just 10 meters away from the game-winning capture while the entire opposing team is gunning after you with their green shells and whatnot. There's also so much room for players to kind of choose how they organize their teams. Maybe send 2 people forward to try to capture the opponent's flag while they have a couple people operating as like a goalie or something. Maybe one person can collect some rare weapons and try to defend their flag or whatever the case may be. There's just so much room for different types of team building, so it could be super cool. And look, I get that this is kind of a poorly developed concept. I know there's a lot of questions that you may be asking, like what happens if you get hit, how many lives do you have, what is the respawn timer, how do you balance the different weapons and stuff. But like, I think fundamentally the crux of this concept, as seen in some of these chases, is just really interesting. I think moving around the map with either someone chasing after you or you're chasing after someone else, it makes everything just feel so much more lively. And Nintendo has this open world that is almost ripe for, natural dynamic gameplay like this. I think they just need to do something with it. And capture the flag is the first thing I can think of that gives you all of that, right? You're chasing other people who captured your flag, and if you just get the right angle on that green shell, you could save your team, save the capture. So I think that's just an awesome concept. Nintendo, if you're watching this, just give the people what they need. You made this open world. It's massive. There's a lot of stuff going on, but give us a reason to traverse it and give us more things to run from and give us more things to chase. Anyways, what does everyone think? Is capture the flag the perfect game mode for the Mario Kart open world? Is there something I'm missing? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, folks. Take care.